Welcome to another episode of What is Hashimoto's with Dr. Martin Rutherford. To find out more on any of our topics, or for information on scheduling a consultation with Dr. Rutherford, please visit us at whatishashimotos.com. And now, here's Dr. Rutherford.
So the question today is, can depression be caused by low thyroid? The low thyroid, okay. And then most of the low thyroid that comes into my office, 90% of it or more is actually Hashimoto's thyroid disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Hashimoto's euthyroid. Most of it, wouldn't be euthyroid. Euthyroid means that it's normal, and you're asking about low. So yes, and I'm going to go from the perspective, if you have actual hypothyroidism, which almost nobody has, an actual hypothyroidism, usually if that's your diagnosis, there's a good chance that Hashimoto's is lurking somewhere in your physiology. But hypothyroidism slows everything down. So you can, so just from that perspective, your brain needs proper oxygen to function properly. If you get hypothyroidism can cause you to have low blood pressure, low adrenal function. It can even create a situation where you have trouble managing your blood sugar, and you're getting low blood sugar function. And the brain needs proper oxygen, which you're not getting if your blood pressure is low. It needs proper oxygen, which you're not getting if your adrenals are low. And it needs proper blood sugar. And so from the physiological perspective, your frontal lobe is where you get depression. And hypothyroidism will slow a number. It'll give you constipation. Hypothyroid aspect is like the number one cause of constipation. I mean, it's probably number two cause after stress. And so that can cause poor digestive function, and then that can cause intestinal permeability, and then that can cause these toxins called lipopolysaccharides. They're bacterial toxins that can get out, and they can cause depression. So from that perspective, if you had just a straight hypothyroid, depression and poor brain function is one of the most common symptoms of poor thyroid function. Now, if you have Hashimoto's, which 90 or 95% of people who've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism actually have Hashimoto's, then the deal with that is Hashimoto's itself decreases blood supply to your whole brain, but depression mostly occurs in your frontal lobe, and it increases inflammation to the frontal lobe, and then it does all the other things that hypothyroid does. It alters your function of being able to control your blood sugar, and it can give you hypoadrenalism, and so that your adrenals aren't pumping the blood up to your head, and so very common, very, 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 very common for somebody who has hypothyroidism to have depression. And I was mentioning to the gentleman who films this for us that it's so common that I used to freak out when people would come with depression and migraines, and I'd be like, oh my God, they get depression and migraines. And then after a while, I started to realize that once you started to get the thyroid under control, the vast majority of those symptoms that were diagnosed as migraine or depression just would go away. In fact, they're now saying, and this goes to hypothyroid, the questioner you have asked about hypothyroid, but most are Hashimoto's. They're now saying there are studies that have said that possibly as much as 70% of migraines are affiliated with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. So yeah, absolutely. Depression, poor brain function, it's almost like axiomatic that if you come in here with a thyroid problem, you're going to be depressed. So yes, the answer is yes. They go together like like bread and butter. Not gluten-free bread and butter. Okay.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of What is Hashimoto's? To find out more on any of our topics, or for information on scheduling a consultation with Dr. Rutherford, please visit us at whatishashimotos.com.